Welcome in, everybody, to Pro Football Plus. It's the Halloween edition. I hope all of you are doing well. If you celebrate Halloween, I hope you have a great time with it. Sorry about that. We are loaded here tonight. I mean, we have so much to talk about from the NFL this week. We have some fun stuff, some serious stuff, some making fun of people stuff, some thumbs down stuff. I mean, we've got a lot. So we're going to get right to it. Lead story, first of all, Shane. What's your first lead story if you got one? If not, I'm going to be pulling up some topics here in just a second, man.
I think my lead story is probably some depressing play out of Tyreek Stevenson for the Chicago Bears. Instead of talking to the fans of the Commanders, he probably should have paid attention, might have ended better. Not saying that he was the only reason, but it could have gone a lot better for the Commanders with him not paying attention. And he was also manned up on the man that caught the ball. So
Yeah, we're going to come back to that actually in a later segment, as you expected. I've got several things up here that I thought were noteworthy, and we could have talked about even more. But the Tyreek Stevenson thing and the Commanders actually pulling out this victory here, and the Bears' comeback, which is now completely lost in the fact that they actually lost this game by some Hail Mary that got tossed up there with a receiver standing back away from everybody else, the way it's designed, but not defended very well. Just unbelievable. So hats off to the Commanders. Hell to the Commanders as they march on, man. All right, Austin, I've got a whole bunch of things here. The Eagles are 5-2. The Bills dominate. The Browns pull the upset of the Ravens, of all things. The Lions are fully beat downing people. Jets collapsing. What you like here?
I was wanting to talk good about the Lions. The Lions have been on fire, and I picked Jared Goff to win MVP preseason. Unfortunately, I didn't put any money on it because it's looking pretty nice right now, but uh, this looks like a well-oiled machine. They were a little rocky to start the season, but first couple weeks, you got to give them some time to grease the wheels, and now that they are greased, they are rolling down the tracks at an unbelievable speed, I think. Won some money on them this week. Putting up that 50 burger for me helped a lot. But the uh, offensive coordinator there, Ben Johnson, is incredible. News came out that he actually was looking at, or was offered, I guess, a potential spot for the Bears in the offseason and turned that down. And I'm so thankful he did because this Lions team is so much fun to watch. And while I do think a lot of it is because their head coach, I think the offense really is Ben's doing. And I'm excited to see where he ends up because I think this is probably going to be his last year as a coordinator. He's going to get a head coaching job at probably a high profile spot too. I'd have to imagine.
Now, I'm not asking anybody to bash Dan Campbell because I'm not going to. But Shane, I'm actually going to kick this over to you here. Campbell has really set the culture there, but it's Ben Johnson who's doing all this XO crap and is really running this offense and bringing the best out of Goff and the best out of these weapons. When Ben Johnson leaves, I don't think we're going to see a kind of a Nick Sirianni dip here, losing the top assistant, right? But how much of a dip do you think we see? Because it's hard, man. When you lose these coordinators, it's tough.
it is, but I think that the one thing that Campbell's done an excellent job of is he's been the CEO. He doesn't tinker in the offense. He doesn't tinker on the defense. It's his job to run the entire team. So, I mean, yes, you're not going to find – there aren't Ben Johnsons just floating around in the NFL. I mean, he had options in this last coaching cycle. I don't think Washington is regretting their decision right now, but I would have loved to see what he would have done with some of their weapons. I think other spots that didn't pull the trigger on him and offer him what he was looking for, I think they regret those decisions. I think exactly like Austin said, it took him a little while, but I mean, he has two dominant running backs, a great offensive line. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute weapon as a wide receiver and short-handed. And they have some other weapons that they play around with. Sam Laporta at tight end. He gets the other thing is Penei Sewell is not only one of your best tackles, but he's scored touchdowns for him. I mean, they get big man touchdowns. He runs a ton of plays. I mean, he runs actually a very short amount of plays, but out of a ton of formations. And it makes it very difficult for the defense to be able to figure out what's coming each time. I think the Lions are the top of the charts right now in the NFL. I think that their offense can score points quickly. Defense is playing extremely well this season. So, I mean, they're a tough out.
Love what the Lions are doing. We'll be talking about them, obviously, all the way until, maybe Super Bowl. We'll see. I'm going to hit the Jets here. And, Shane, I'm going to come back to you real quick on the Patriots because the Jets are dying, unfortunately. I mean, they're still dangerous. Every game they're going to be dangerous. They may even go on a win streak. But this thing's just gotten out of control, and they're in such a deep hole now. I mean, they had to win this game, not just to keep the record from getting too bad, but because it's the Patriots. The Patriots are supposed to be down at the bottom. You got to at least take care of business in your division. But nope, here's the Patriots playing two different quarterbacks in this game. Here's the Patriots who are supposed to lose, and the Patriots are winning, and the Jets are just, at this point, are toast, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Jets, we've already talked about it. We have problems offensively. I would definitely give Ben Johnson a call. Yeah. I mean, I think the Jets are a show of when a team quits on their coaching staff because it's not a talentless team. I mean, there are weapons in there to be played with. And when it comes down to it, the Jets just have not shown an ability to A, play as a team, and B, make decisions when they need to. I mean, they've made way too many mistakes late in games. Very few times have they been blown out, but they just don't put a full game together.
All right, let's move on here to the back pages. I've got one here that I really want to talk about. It's Rams based, but it's NFC West really is where I'm heading with this. This division is wide open, man. And I don't know that too many of us thought that heading into the season. 49ers 4-4, Cardinals 4-4, Seattle 4-4, Rams now 3-4. Rams first. That call should have been made at the end of the game, right? The Rams highly benefited off of that. That was a completely blown call. But that notwithstanding, the Rams are now dangerous because they're somewhat healthy. When they've got Cooper Kupp in there and Puka Nacua in there, Stafford in there, and Sean McVay now has a little bit of room to work with, they're as dangerous as anybody. And they might not win the division. They might not even make the playoffs. But they're right back in here in the thick of this, as opposed to, say, the Jets, who had a chance to do that. The Rams have worked their way back into the middle of this. They are dangerous. They are somewhat healthy. And this NFC West is just wide freaking open, man. I mean, it's anybody's game right now. The 49ers aren't going to be healthy for the rest of the year. I mean, they've already lost Brandon Ayuk. He's out for the season. They've still got these other receivers that are injury prone at the moment. And McCaffrey, who knows when he's going to come back, whether it's soon or whether he'll come back at 100%. So this division's wide open. Austin, any predictions here on this thing, man, or you just want to wait and watch?
I'm still scared of what the 49ers can do. They're a very well-coached team. They play with a lot of heart. Brock Purdy's not playing his best ball right now, and he's still looking okay. George Kittle is a monster. And I'm just really nervous about what this receiving core can do, because Debo's going to get healthy soon. He's dealing with an illness, not an injury. Ricky Pearsall was shot not that long ago, so forgive him for starting slow. Juwan Jennings, we've seen what he can do already in the season. So it's still a dangerous group, but wait till Christian McCaffrey comes back. I'm thinking it'll probably be week 11 is the rumblings I've heard that they're expecting or hoping he can be back. And what that will do, even though Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerendo, who I loved coming out of the draft this year, they both look good. What Christian McCaffrey allows the receiving and the passing offense to look like will completely transform this team. So I still think they're the team to beat. They're the class of the NFC West. And up until the Detroit Lions took this step, they were the class of the NFC, to be honest.
See, I'm in the same boat, both on McCaffrey, and I'm a huge Shanahan guy. So I figure whenever McCaffrey comes back, week 11 or earlier or later, and whenever he's healthy, Shanahan's still so good. If he's got players to work with, and he does, he can mix and match his way through to a good year. And then when they have McCaffrey, they're back to being potentially Super Bowl dangerous again, depending on, if the Lions the Lions may not come back to beat them. 49ers got to go up and catch them. But I'm a big believer in Kyle Shanahan. I still like the 49ers for this division as well. We're not going to put anybody on the struggle bus tonight, but we are going to roll through, and I'm going to take somebody off, I think, here, at least for now. I'm going to take the 49ers off of this thing because they are back to 4-4, and we did just say some good things about them. That doesn't mean that their defense is back together again, because they still got some work to do there. But I'm going to take them off. And, man, we got the Titans on here. The Saints are on here. The Jaguars and Panthers take a turn sponsoring this thing. Shane, any comments on struggle bus as we pass it by, man? It's been a rough season for some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I saw, and you kind of hit on it as one of your top stories, with the Browns being able to pull a win against the Ravens, Jameis Winston, can he lead this team on a comeback? I don't think it's going to do much to help them, but they certainly played much harder for him. It's much easier to root for that team with him at quarterback than it is with Deshaun Watson there. I think they'll be interesting. I think the Giants, again, prove that they stay on the struggle bus. Dallas the same way. So I don't think anybody else really got themselves off. McVay might get a chance to clear up some of that.
Right.
And like you said, I think with San Francisco and Austin hit on it, McCaffrey back as a running back, I think is important. But if I'm Shanahan, I maybe play him as my best slot receiver. It allows him to know what cuts he's going to make and maybe take some less of those dynamic hits coming back from double Achilles problems.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought and not one I heard. And I agree. If the Rams get up to 4-4, for instance, or at least look pretty good this week, a tight loss, I'll take McVay right off of this struggle bus as well. And listen, Brian Daboll, I've mentioned this several times. I hope the Giants keep him. They're not going to win a lot of games this year, but he is coaching his butt off. And you talk about the scheming that they're doing in game. I got to watch it last night, and they were tight on this game until midway through the third quarter, and Steelers just kind of let loose at that point. But Brian Daboll's the guy here. They just need to keep adding pieces here, working that team. Austin, anything else here on struggle bus people?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Nick Sirianni's still doing on the bus, if we're being honest. I think his stop was probably last week, if we're being honest. And then he comes out and destroys the Bengals this week just to let us know, like, hey, take me off the bus. I mean, the Eagles are 5-2. They're looking as we expected them to. So I'm not really sure what he's doing on the bus anymore.
He's a leftover. He was here 2 weeks. We put him on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's gotten 2 wins since our last show. Yeah. So I think we can take him off as well. We'll push him off the struggle bus, at least for now. If they start losing again, that seat will warm up really quickly. But yeah, I agree. Sirianni off the bus, and we'll take McVay off the bus here next week if he gets a win or if the team looks decent. Everybody else looks like they may be on there for quite a while. We got a new segment here called Boo Birds that we're doing tonight. We're giving out some thumbs down to some people. We try not to always do that because, listen, players, coaches, they're working their butts off, right? They're trying, or at least most of them are. But every once in a while, somebody deserves a big thumbs down, and the Boo Birds are going to come out. And this is one of them right here, man. I'm gonna start with Tyrique Stevenson here. Tyrique, just listen, for him to be literally back turned to the play, pointing to the crowd. As the play starts, you can see here, I know it's tiny, you may not be able to see it, but everybody's seen the replay. The play has already started of a real live NFL game, and he's going to be an important part of it or not, but he's not worried about that. He's too worried about looking at the crowd and styling and profiling like Ric Flair out there. And I mean, goodness gracious, you finish the game, man, then point at the crowd, then start styling and profiling. I mean, what an embarrassment. I know he already kind of come out and said he was sorry for it, and that's fine. But these guys are professionals, man. If this happened on my 14-year-old football team, I'd chew their butt out for it. These guys work hard. Man, they show up for August heat and do training camps. They work their butt off all year round. Touchdowns are hard to come by. Wins are hard to come by. I mean, pulling stuff off like this, there's no reason for it. It's completely ridiculous. Shane, I know you wanted to talk about Tyrique Stevenson a little bit more, so go ahead, hammer away.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here, you mentioned he already apologized. I'm sure that was explained to him that you will apologize, or we're going to cut you quicker than you'll get the opportunity to speak again. Um, but I mean, like you said, in the NFL, do players talk to fans? Do they run their mouths all the time? Yes. The thing is, the play was going on. This wasn't a
Right.
dead ball situation where he's just saying whatever he wants. It, this play could have happened without that, but when you make this play, when you're running your mouth and doing this before, it just sets a tone for you to be the one that gets picked out. The other thing, like you said, is Chicago played a hell of a game. No one's talking about that anymore because of this exact opportunity. So, winning teams don't make mistakes like this and don't have players that they have to deal with. I mean, the only other one that I would have put that I see out of your ones is Anthony Richardson in my mind. I mean, even if you are tired, I can't imagine coming out of an NFL game at that point and saying, I ran more than I ever have. I don't believe that to be true in any way either, because he played at Florida and they had no offense to speak of before, and he ran thousands of times for them and still never came out. So those would be the two guys that were on my Boo Bird list.
Awful look for Anthony Richardson, and I don't know if that's how much that plays into him being benched this week versus just the incredibly, almost historically low completion percentage numbers, right? I mean, he's completing like, I don't know, 3.5 out of every 10 passes. It's abominably low. But in either case, he's sitting this week, and for an NFL player to kind of openly admit, I mean, listen, he's not a running back who's been carrying the ball and getting beat to crap and kind of waiting for the sub, like they're supposed to. This is your starting quarterback, man. You don't ask out of the game. You're not the starting pitcher asking for a relief pitcher, right? You're the starting quarterback. Everyone's got their hopes pinned on you. Not a good look for Anthony. Austin, hit on Tyrique Stevenson, Anthony Richardson, and then hit your Boo Birds as well, man.
I'll start with Tyrique Stevenson because, I mean, that's the most egregious one, I think. And I just want to point out to Tyrique Stevenson, why are you talking? You are the second most targeted corner in the entire NFL. Only Paulson Adebo is targeted more often than you because you're so bad. There are only 7 players who PFF has graded below a 52 rating this season. You are one of those 7.
Hmm.
You're not good, dude. Like I'm like, why are you running your trap? Play better and then start talking. The play probably ends up better for your team if you stay over there talking and don't get involved. Because I mean, you were honestly the one who blew it, dude. So like, just go over there and start talking. Don't come back to the play when you've done that. So yeah, Tyrique Stevenson having a really bad season. I mean, that's all around bad. Anthony Richardson, Simon and I disagree on this a lot. I don't know where you stand, Ben. We were talking about it in our Slack chat. I think it's a great choice. AR is not good remotely, to be honest. He's not ready to play at an NFL level. And the Colts are a pretty solid team who have playoff expectations, and they are going to try and make a playoff push. And you don't have to be a Super Bowl contender necessarily to want to try and make the playoffs. Like making the playoffs is a big deal. You don't get to do it every year. The Colts want to do that, and Joe Flacco is. I mean, I said quadruples their odds. I think I think they have a 4 times more likelihood of making the playoffs with Flacco at the helm rather than Anthony Richardson. And you can scream, and this is Simon's point of view, that you're stunting Anthony Richardson's growth by doing this, but he's 22 years old. We've seen it time and time again. Jordan Love's the most recent example of guys who come in, aren't NFL ready, sit behind a really solid veteran like Joe Flacco, and just learn and get reps in practice. You don't have to go out there and get killed. You're creating bad habits in games is what you're doing playing him. It is 100% the right decision to bench him for the rest of the season. I see some people saying this is just a 1-game quiet suspension by the team for, asking to tap out. I hope that's not the case. I hope he doesn't see the field again in 2024. I think he has so much talent. He could legitimately be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL if he develops correctly. So don't waste his talents. And then I wanted to kind of do a double Boo Bird on two receivers who I had really high expectations coming into the season for. Well, one of them I did. The other one I'm a generational hater. If I could go D1 in anything, it would be on hating DJ Moore. D1 DJ Moore hater right here. He has the worst effort I've ever seen on a football field. He has mediocre skills at separating. His hands mediocre at best. His run after the catch ability is his only thing he's good at, really, and he's not been that good this year on those. He seems to have beef with like everybody around him on the field. It looks like you will never catch him trying to block downfield. If he's on the back, if he's like the number 3 read, you might as well just not even look to him because he's probably walking his route. And the numbers show like he's not good. His PFF stats, his advanced metrics are not looking that great this year. It's a big step down, and they just paid him. And shocker, that's what happens when someone gets paid. Their effort goes down. It's unfortunate that we see that happen time and time again in the National Football League. And then the last one I wanted to hit on, Amari Cooper, who has had a really rough season. Especially after being traded over to the Bills, we thought, oh, the situation gets better. He gets away from the bad quarterback, gets to a good one. His stats since coming over to Buffalo, in the 2 games, he has 7 targets for 5 receptions. It's not looking good. He got the touchdown in the first game against Tennessee. So, Tennessee's a whole different animal going against a really rough defense there. But he doesn't look that good. His stats in terms of separating are not that good. His hands are really bad. He's probably got like the highest. I didn't check this. I was looking at his drop rate. It's astonishingly high. I have to imagine he has one of the highest drop rates in the league. So those are just 2 guys who I think need to play better. They're both of better quality than they are showing themselves this season, and they're both being paid like they should be much better than they are. So those are 2 guys I can hope can turn the season around because they're both on teams who can make the playoffs. Bills will. Bears could if they really turn their season around.
Shane and Austin, that's great work on everything you just said. There's one statistic in there I didn't even know. It's the Tyreek Stevens statistic. I didn't realize he was the second most targeted CB out there. So that's very good. If it were me, I would start Anthony Richardson for the next few weeks, but that's just me. I'm not going to get into it here tonight because we don't have time. But Shane, real quick, Anthony Richardson, before I hit my more Boo Birds here.
I agree with Austin. I wouldn't let him see the field again this year. The only difference for me is that I don't, where Austin says I can see him becoming, one of the better quarterbacks. I don't see it. I don't think that he's had to play in enough different offenses. It doesn't seem like he picks the game up at the speed they're looking for right now. I think he's probably going to be one of those guys that always gets moved around based on his physical talent, but not always a great producer. I do completely agree with Austin that it's at least 4 to 5 times better for the Colts having Flacco there to be able to pull the trigger, distribute the ball a little bit better. There's definitely weapons in Indianapolis. So.
There are. We'll see where it takes them. We'll see if it carries them to a playoff position this year like it did Cleveland last year with Flacco running the show there. My last 2 Boo Birds of the night, real quick, giving a thumbs down. This happened in the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game, just minutes apart from each other. The first play was Rachaad White. You can see the picture here if you've got a big enough screen. Rachaad White for the Buccaneers is scoring a touchdown, but he's already celebrating before he gets to the goal line. And you can see the Atlanta Falcons defender here reaching for the ball. White scored, so it did not actually cost the Buccaneers anything. But you can see the ball's already starting to come out here, right here at the goal line, and the defender trying to punch it out. It's by mere luck and chance that Rachaad White didn't cost his team 7 points here, and it's just ridiculous. But to top it off, it got even worse. Minutes later, like 10, 15 minutes later, Kyle Pitts over here for Atlanta is scored a touchdown and does the same thing. And in this case, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defender, you can see it here, actually does hit the ball right at the goal line. It stood as a touchdown for Atlanta, but only because they didn't have a goal line pylon shot right here to see if the ball came out before he crossed the goal line. It was the only reason that touchdown stood. And listen, You got to do better, guys. Rachaad White, Kyle Pitts. I mean, I see this at the college level. Again, if this was my junior high school football team, I would chew their butts out for it. But these guys are 10 years older. They've gone through every level of football. They've gone through the college. They've played in the NFL for years now. They work their butts off. They know how hard it is to score touchdowns. Kyle Pitts, for crying out loud, knows what it's like to be left out of the offense almost entirely. Wait until you cross the goal line, guys. Wait until the game is over, the play is over. Then do your celebrating. Then style and profile and do whatever dance move you want to do. But for crying out loud, can you imagine if this is a playoff game and one of these bozos cost their team a playoff win? Oh my gosh! Let's do better, guys. Let's move on. All right, more serious stuff. Our Goats and Cheeses Championship that me and Austin and Shane are working on here. I've got Thanksgiving written down because we are going to carry this to the show right before Thanksgiving is when this particular championship will end, and we'll start another one right after Thanksgiving. Staying here with 102 goats. What's that? 10 goats and 2 cheeses for Shane. I'm at 133. Austin's at 75. Just so the audience knows, Austin is cooking over on our other preview show. I think over the last 3 weeks, he's something like 32-5, 32-6. It is a ridiculous record for the past 3 weeks. He is lighting it up over there. Still needs some more goats and cheeses over here. And this week's matchup is going to be the Lions and the Packers on Fox. Last I looked, this was a 3.5 line for the Lions. I'm sure it's changed. It will probably change a little bit all week. I'm going to go through the statistics on these two teams and then get you guys' take on what you think will happen here in this game. Offensive DVOA, Lions 4th, Packers 4th. Points per game. These two teams are very similar, by the way, statistically. Points per game, Lions 1st, Packers 6th. Yards per game, Lions 5, Packers 4. Passing yards per game, Lions 10, Packers 9. Rushing yards per game, Lions 5, Packers 4. The offenses statistically stack up very similar from an analytical standpoint, even though the style is a little bit different. On the defensive side of the football, Lions defensively DVOA is 3rd, Packers are 12. For the points per game allowed, Lions are 7th. Packers come in at 10. Yards per game allowed, we see a pretty good dip for both teams here. Lions at 21st and Packers for 15th. Passing yards allowed, Lions 27th, Packers 20th. And rushing yards allowed per game, Lions are at 5th. Packers are at 9th. Shane, give us your thoughts on this game. Pick a winner and then whatever bet that you want to put some goats and cheeses on here, man.
I mean, I think both offenses are probably towards the very top, not just statistically and in the numbers, but in the imagination and what they do. I picked the Lions to win this. And I mean, I'd put money right on the Lions even without the 3.5. But I also think that this is if you're a betting man, I definitely think this is a chance for a high over as well. Both these teams can score points. Both defenses do let up some yardage. So I think you're going to look for a high scoring game out of this, but I think the Lions are capable of pulling it off.
I like it. Austin, what's your feeling on the game, man?
I like the Lions, especially in the first half of football games. The Lions are the best first half offense in the National Football League. Credit to Ben Johnson for putting a good game plan together every week. And the Packers are not so hot on defense in the first half. I think they're like something like bottom 8 in first half defense. So I expect the Lions to get out to an early lead and be able to hang on. If the Packers do manage to keep it really tight in the first half, I do get nervous because the Packers have a really good run game and could potentially run it out. But because, like I said, that matchup with the Lions offense in the first half, I'm going to take the Lions.
All right. I'm picking the Lions as well. I'll let you guys chime in on Jordan Love here in just a second. We haven't mentioned him. Jordan Love is banged up. I doubt he's 100% for this game. I'm assuming at this point he will play, although last I heard yesterday that was still up in the air. But I don't expect him to be 100% for this game. And even if he was at 100%, I'm still going to pick the Lions, man. I mean, they're crushing it right now. They are crushing it. So I like them to come in here to Lambeau and get this victory. Shane, what bet are you wanting to put some goats and cheeses for this game on?
Let's see. I'll put a 7 goats on a Lions victory with the points. No problem.
Wow, big time. Got the rich man over here. 7 goats on Lions victory. Austin.
Yeah, I was looking at a lot of lines. I think my favorite one is Shane mentioned earlier actually is the over. I'm seeing 48 points as the over under,
Mhm.
so I'm happy taking a 48 point over.
Over on the 48.
I'll
And
do I will do I'll match the 7 number, 7 goats on that.
whew, boy, y'all are getting rich for me. I'm gonna put 2 goats on the over because I do like the over. The only thing that gives me any hesitation on this over is that both teams are good at running the football, and that might slow it down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to keep them from hitting the over. I think that's more like body punch, deep, jaw punch is what that's going to be like. So yeah, I like the over here. This this should be a fun game, man. The Lions and Packers over on Fox. Check it out on Sunday. Should be a really, really fun game, and I hope Jordan Love is at least something close to 90%, 92% for this game, so we can see both teams light it up. All right. I've got 2 surprise segments for Shane and Austin this week. I don't know if they'll like it or not, but we'll do our best and we'll have our fun with it. And then we'll get on to our final 60. This next segment is called Up, Down, Middle. Okay. Up, Down, Middle. What this is a guessing game for both of you. You'll both just kind of have to figure out and agree how you want to rate these things. I've got 9 teams here. Okay. You can see them here on the screen. I'm looking for yards per game, okay? Offensive yards per game. So just total yards per game, where these teams would rank. This isn't EPA. This isn't, adjusted value. This isn't DVOA. This is nothing fancy. Just straight up raw total yards per game that they're producing. 3 of these teams will belong in the top row. That is the end zone. 3 of these teams suck at it, and they'll be on the bottom row. And 3 teams will be in the middle. You don't have to necessarily guess 1 through 9, but I'm just looking for the levels, okay? So we'll see how close you can get. Austin and Shane, I'm going to let y'all talk your way through this. Make as good a guesses as you can, and I'll move the helmets around.
Okay, I think the 3 bottom ones are obvious. Would you agree, Shane?
I would agree.
It's the Titans, the Browns, and the Patriots.
All right. Titans going to the bottom. Patriots going to the bottom. And who else did we say?
The Browns.
The Browns going down to Suckland. Okay.
See the top's tough.
I think you're looking Minnesota. The Ravens.
I think the Buccaneers would be up there as well.
I think so too. The only one I had the question is maybe the Bills might be in that top 3, but they're probably they've had no run game really, so I'd keep them in the second layer. But I think it'd be Bucks, Vikings, Ravens in the top 3.
I like that. I'm happy we're going with that.
All right. Austin agrees. Give me 1 second. I'm shifting that around.
I almost like the Bills more than the Vikings. That's a tough one. Vikings and Bills are the only one I'm not super confident in, but I'm happy to go with this.
All right. Shane, any more hesitation there? I'm gonna pull up another thing here.
No, I would. I mean, the Saints got off to enough of a good offense to where I think they would sit. If we're looking like now, they may have dropped, but full season, I agree with Austin. The only one that worries me is that the Bills, and I still think that it'd be Vikings, Ravens. I think the Bills, Buccaneers would be a possible switch, but I'm happy with what we got up there.
Yep, let's rip it.
All right. Y'all are very close. All right. I'm going to go to the bottom here where y'all got it 100% right. It is Tennessee, 3rd worst. It is Cleveland at 2nd worst. And unfortunately, the Patriots are the worst team in the league on the yards thing. So y'all hit that dead on. That y'all got that right. On the top side of things here, the Ravens are number 1 in the league. It's not even close. They are by far leaps and bounds, tens of yards per game ahead of everybody else right now. I was surprised at that, but that's been holding up for the past 2 or 3 weeks. They are first. The 49ers are actually number 2 on the list right now. This surprised me, but they are up here at number 2 on the list for the NFL standings. And one correction here, because it changed since since one of the games got played. The Buccaneers are actually 4th, but they would be in the top 3 based on what I have right here. And then that's going to drop our beloved Vikings down to, they actually are not that high. They're more like middle of the pack, 15, 16 right now in terms of just total yardage right now. So again, that's just raw yardage, but that's the actual order right there. Very good, man. I got 7 out of 9, and really, I guess if we're going to grade it, it would be really 8 out of 9 because it was just one switch. So very good, guys. I like it. All right. Hats off. I've got another guessing game for you guys here, okay? I'm going to go old school here to my childhood, all right? This is 1989 NFL football. This is a set of cards called All-Pro, Pro Set football cards, all right? This is right up my alley here. I was 9, 10, 11 years old when all this is going on. And we're going to guess. I'm going to try to get y'all to guess. Each of y'all will make your own guess. The passing leader for that year, total yardage, passing leader yardage for the NFL for that season. We've got Joe Montana here, Don Majkowski for the Packers. I don't know how many people even remember him. Boomer Esiason, of course, the lefty for the Bengals. John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Everett for the Rams, who's a good passer. Warren Moon, and then, of course, the Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. I mean, it's quite a list here. I had to leave Bernie Kosar off the list. I was like, darn it, I really want to put him on here, but I just couldn't get him on it. This is not the top 8 in passers. These guys scatter from 1 to 16 on the passing list for that year. So I'm going to let Shane start first and make the first guess as the passing leader for 1989.
Let's see. So we're going just yardage here?
Just yardage, man. Nothing else.
Let's go Marino.
Likes Marino. See, that's who I would have picked. It is not Marino, but that's a good guess. He finished in third, 3,997 yards. Austin.
That's who I would have gone to. No, just kidding. Obviously, I would have gone John Elway the whole time. Never thought of Marino as first, right?
I would have put Marino first, and Elway's a fantastic guess, but it's actually not Elway either. He is 16th that particular year. I didn't look up to see maybe he got injured or something. It's probably what happened. But in 1989, finished 16th with 3,000 yards. Shane.
Let's see here. Let's see, 89. It might be somebody off the wall. Let's go with, is that Chrissy Everett down there?
I was wondering if anybody was going to bring that up, man. All right. You want to pull Everett out of the hat?
Sure. He had a good run during that time.
He did have a good run. Everett was second that year. 4,310 yards. That was one of the Rams' best seasons right there, 1989, during that whole era, late 80s, early 90s. That was one of their best seasons. They got whooped by the 49ers that year. Austin, really, I just like looking at these cards. It's the only reason I had this segment, but the guessing is fun. So, passing leader, 1989.
See, I think you might have gave it away there. You said they got whooped by the 49ers. Give me Joe Montana.
Yeah, I mean, Montana's amazing, but not this year. He finished 8th on the list, 3,521 yards. So we got 4 guys left. Shane.
Let's go to Warren Moon.
Warren Moon, run and gun, fun and gun, whatever that was. 5th, 3,631 yards. This is the hard one. The other one I gave y'all was easier. This was the hard one. So, Austin.
Got to go with the Hall of Famer, Jim Kelly.
Yeah, and I would have done the same, but it's not him either. He's 14th that year. Again, I didn't look. That may have been injury, or they may have just been handing the ball off a lot.
Handed the ball off. Thurman Munson had over it, yeah.
Yeah, a heck of a running back there. So, who's left? It's Esiason and Majkowski. All right, Shane, you either get it right or Austin wins.
We'll go Boomer.
All right, well, Austin's going to win because Esiason finished number 7 on this list with 3,525. It's the last person I would have guessed too. Majkowski, 4,318 yards. Had him a heck of a year. Packers were fine that year, but they weren't anything to write home about. But
who was his leading receiver?
Was it Sterling Sharp, maybe? Or
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years? 2 years later, did they trade for Favre? I mean, he was a Falcons pick, so.
Yeah, it was right in there. Magic Man basically led into Favre, and then Favre took it for forever. Shane, do you remember Don Mikowski? I don't know when you started watching football or not, man.
I remember him only because I remember Brett Favre taking over.
Okay, right, yeah.
When Jerry Glanville got sick of Brett Favre coming intoxicated to every single game for the Falcons that year. Pretty bad when the coach that leaves tickets for Elvis decides that you're not paying enough attention to football and gets you out of there.
This was quite an era that we got to watch right here. The mid-90s was too, but this late 80s era, boy, every week you had guys playing against each other. Man, it was a lot of fun. I got to catch kind of the back end of that. I didn't catch the mid-80s, but this late 80s era was a lot of fun. These guys were all a lot of fun to watch week in and week out. All right, that was a whole lot more difficult, and I knew it would be. I did not expect y'all to get this at all, but it was just fun to go through these guys, see the old cards once again. And, man, that's been 35 years ago. Goodness gracious, how the time.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I'm sure you do. All right, it's time for our final 60 here. Mine is very serious here, and it's another Netflix thing. This is a Netflix documentary. Y'all know I like to watch a lot of those. This one's called Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter. This is about an hour, maybe 2 shows spread over 2.5 hours, something like that. And again, this is a very serious topic. So some of y'all like, hey, I got enough serious in my life. I don't need more. That's fine. I get it. Total respect that. But this was an episode in which in the late 70s, early 80s, and then again in the late 80s, a guy killed or raped several women that we know of, little girls, women, I mean, several. They actually do catch the guy, which is cool, but again, it took decades. When they were investigating these crimes, they were collecting DNA, of course, late 70s and the 80s, but they didn't have the science to catch these people. And some of the science that they went back on, the cold cases, they were able to figure out who did this. So they actually do catch the guy, but it's like 40 years later on this. But the documentary is very well done. It's, last I checked, it is still on Netflix. So go over and check it out if you're into that sort of thing. What I like most about it, because it does suck that people do this kind of crap and get by with it for a very long period of time. And in some cases, man, the victim's parents or the victim's brothers and sisters pass away before anybody's even caught, right? I mean, this kind of nonsense sucks. But when the police go back and they work and they use the updated science, and the updated tech, and they figure out ways just through being creative to catch on to some of these monsters that do this nonsense. I do like that part of it, that justice in some way has at least been measured out, even if it's nowhere near enough. And some of these people have been gone for decades. But check it out, Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter, over on Netflix. Shane, your final 60, man.
So since we're doing the Halloween, something that always pops up around this time, my all-time favorite college football coach is Mike Leach. If you haven't had a chance to catch some of his rants, he has a great breakdown on Halloween candy, his despised candy corn, but talks about some other things. But he kind of, this type of year, led me down a rabbit hole to watch an awful lot of stuff for him. Just an offensive genius, a guy that had a law degree and went back into coaching because he thought that that's where his real passion was. In this last year, we got Reggie Bush back a Heisman. I'd love if we would be able to get him into the College Football Hall of Fame. He's 3 wins short. They kind of arbitrarily set that number. I think if he had not died of a heart attack, I think those 3 wins would have been easy for him. But one of my all-time favorites, and if you're ever just bored and you want to just hear a breakdown on which mascot would win a battle, marriage advice, and some other things, Mike Leach was just wonderful to have as a media outlet.
Leach was one of a kind, man. There have been a few other guys who were one of a kind, but he was one of a kind.
He would appreciate your pirate outfit as well, Ben. So another plus on that end.
All right. We remember Mike Leach and everything. And yeah, you're right. That wins total I've never really liked that wins total thing that they do. I mean, what other Hall of Fame? I don't know another Hall of Fame that has that kind of stuff, but whatever. Austin, your final 60, man.
surprise. Mine's the World Series. Game one of the World Series was one of the best baseball games I've ever watched. If I was showing somebody their first baseball game ever, that is probably at the top of my list of games to show. The ending, I'll just go ahead and spoil it if you haven't seen it. Freddie Freeman hits the first walk-off grand slam in the history of the World Series in extra innings. It was electric. The whole game was great. The whole World Series has been really good, even though the Dodgers are looking like they're going to handle business and take the Yankees down pretty easily in terms of the number of games it took. Yankees have put up a pretty decent fight, and Freddie Freeman actually today hit another home run. He's set two records with that home run. The first is uh, 4 consecutive games with a home run to start a World Series. That's all 4 games that he's played and the World Series is a home run in. And then also 6 consecutive World Series games with a home run for him, dating back to his 2021 World Series with the Atlanta Braves, in which he home run in both games 5 and 6, the last 2 of that series. So when you just look at his World Series games, he has had 6 consecutive with a home run, which is also an all-time record.
It's been phenomenal. Austin, you were going to hate me for this. I turned on the Yankees-Dodgers World Series after, I don't know, I think it was our preview show that we were doing. I went back in the house later and turned on the show. And the Yankees took the lead in the top of the 10th inning, I guess it was. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm not watching any more of this because if I keep watching, the Yankees are going to win this thing. I went off to go get ready. I was going to come back and watch USC Rutgers. I come back and it's 6-3. I'm like, holy crap, what happened? And I missed the whole Freddie Freeman grand slam to end the game. Shame on me. All right. I do want to tell you about a couple of our shows. Listen, the National People, I've said this before. I am very much entertained by the National People, okay? That's the Colin Cowherds, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Greenies, you name it, all of them. I enjoy their work. They entertain me. They make me laugh. They give me something to listen to while I'm working, so I appreciate that. But these guys don't know NFL football the way we do. We have poured our hours into it for years, all right? Me, Shane, Austin, Simon, Peyton, Parker, Robertson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Bill, I mean, we spend a lot of time watching these games, breaking down these games, replaying these games, studying the analytics, studying the cap numbers. I mean, you name it, studying the draft picks months in advance. You name it, we're doing it. All right. And we all have a little bit different thing that we're doing, but we're doing it. And it shows up when we talk. We may not always bore you with the details, but it shows up when we talk about it. All right. We know what we're talking about. And we're not always right. Sometimes me and Austin disagree a lot. Sometimes Simon and Robertson disagree a lot, and that's okay. That's what makes it fun. But we spend a lot of time studying it, all right? And it shows up when you hear us versus the National People that are talking, because they're talking about everything from LeBron and Bronny to, you know, whoever's winning the Stanley Cup to whoever's winning the World Series. They're talking about everything. We're just about NFL only, unless we're specializing in MLB and soccer. So we spend a lot of time on that. If you like that sort of thing, come on over. And I'll mention this with Tricky Takes. Austin last week did a special doctor episode in which he talked about some of the rookies. So go check that out. I think that's last week's episode where he kind of did a health report as a doctor on, I don't know, what was it, 12, 13
Something
rookies, I think you did, Austin? Yeah.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, quite a group there. So go check that out. It was a really good angle there on some of the rookies and kind of just how they're looking their first 6-8 weeks of the NFL season. Go check us all out. We would appreciate it. Anything else, Austin, Shane?
That's it.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. It has been fun. Hope you enjoyed your Halloween, whether you celebrate or whether you just sit at home and watch some Thursday night football. I guess it is. Have a great one, and we'll see y'all later. Goodbye.